Video, I want to talk about how historically unpopular Trump is right now and how he is blowing away the midterms and blowing out a 2028 election. Now, since I already made a video about the midterms, I'm really going to talk about the like I've made a video in this past week about the midterm, so I'm going to be talking about the 2028 election and just showing how unpopular Trump is. Trump's approval rating is back down to 41%. He is historically, since approval rating has been a thing, the most unpopular president on average, I should clarify on average. I'm pretty sure Bush has the lowest approval rating ever, like for a period of time. But on average, Trump has the lowest approval rating ever, I'm pretty sure. And we even look over here on tracking the presidency, Trump is more unpopular than this time in his first term and Biden this time in his first term. I mean, he is doing unpopular, and we can even look at the issues. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. He is polling double digits disapproval on every single major issue. On inflation, negative 27%. On trade, negative 19%. On the economy, negative 17%. And on immigration, negative 10%. And we could possibly, within the next few weeks, see the impeachment of Kristi Noem, the impeachment of. Who else could we see? No, not Stephen Miller. I don't know. Yeah, probably not. We could possibly see the impeachment of Kristi Noem, which is, if that happens, I think his immigration overall will go down a little bit. It shows incompetency in his administration. We're seeing Democrats try to work together to bring Kristi Noem to a House hearing and then possibly lead her to getting impeached. If every Democrat votes to impeach her, they will need some Republican support, but it can definitely happen. So, and I mean, I think it's truly not going enough by saying, oh, did not mean JJ Maps. Yes, sorry about that. I think we really do have to understand just how unpopular Trump is. So in 2016, he wins the election. In 2020, he gets electorally, he gets blown out by Joe Biden. Okay, now if he won a couple swing states, then maybe, but on a popular vote level, he gets blown out by 4% by Joe Biden. And this was when Trump was had a 41% approval rating, which is what he has right now. So around 2020 with COVID and everything, he had a 41% approval rating, and right now, this early on in his term, he has a 41% approval rating. This is not. This is likely what the map could look like for the 2028 election. And we also have to remember Trump outperformed what a lot of people thought he would do in the 2020 election. He came a lot closer than what people thought was possible because he's Trump. Now, say what you want about Trump, but he is a very good campaigner. He is very good at just doing more than what people give him credit for. No one thought he was going to win the 2016 primary. He still somehow won that. He still somehow won the 2016 election, even without the popular vote. And he came a lot closer to the 2020 to winning the 2020 election, even without the popular vote, than a lot of people give him credit for. And he also outperformed what some people thought he was going to do in the 2024 election. Now, my prediction, I thought Harris was going to take Wisconsin and Michigan. He ended up taking that. So for me, he outperformed. I thought a lot of people thought Minnesota was going to go more to Harris. He came within 6 points of New Jersey. He came within 4 points of Minnesota, 6 points of New Mexico, 12 points within New York. I mean, and 10 points within Illinois and 5.5 points in Virginia. So Trump constantly overdoes what the numbers say. But I am scared for the Republicans because I think JD Vance, not I think it's going to look like the 2008 election if Democrats get the right candidate. I think whoever the Republican candidate is, they're coming under a um basically Trump is Bush in this scenario, okay? He's more and then we're going to see in 2024 was 2004 in this scenario. I think we're going to see a 2008 style landslide just because of how unpopular Trump is right now and his administration is. And John McCain, I think he did the best he could, but he just was not going to win this election. I mean, he even lost Indiana. And I think if Republicans want a fighting shot at winning this election, they can't their candidate can't be someone from the Trump administration. It can't be JD Vance and Marco Rubio. If I could personally pick someone, I think Glenn Youngkin could do good for the Republicans, possibly. He's the former governor of Virginia. Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia right now, could probably do good. Even if you put Ted Cruz out there, just anyone but a administration pick would probably be better for the Republicans if they want a fighting chance at the 2028 election. And I think it's also important to remember the only issue that Trump was polling good on was immigration. And other polling sites other than the Civil Bulletin had him above water on immigration, but that issue is now gone. And also, I saw a recent poll where 53% of Americans supported abolishing ICE, and plus 3% of Americans supported abolishing ICE. And at the start of Trump's term, that was a negative 47% issue. I'll link where I got that source down below in the description. Um, so I think it's important to understand that Trump's not polling good on any issue with the average American. Independents are going to decide this election. Obviously, they decide every election, but they are in historic numbers not siding with the current administration. We're also seeing that Democrats continue to gain ground on the 2026 generic congressional polling. They're now polling around plus 5% Democrat, which plus 5% nationally is huge. That would be a blowout on the Electoral College. Now, I also want to talk about the Democrats. I don't think Gavin Newsom's the right candidate for the Democrats. I honestly think someone like Andy Bashir would probably be the best candidate. He doesn't have the baggage that Gavin Newsom has. I think Andy Bashir can actually fight for the issues he believes in, unlike Gavin Newsom. Um, he also doesn't have the baggage Gavin Newsom or someone like J.P. Pritzker has. He's a governor for red state too, so that could help him in his appeal. He has good Midwest appeal, and he's not funded by, or not publicly funded so much by APAC as people like Josh Shapiro are. Uh, he also strikes a nice middle ground between the moderate side of the Democrat Party and the progressive side of the Democratic Party. So someone like Ro Khanna and AOC, I could see them being okay with Andy Bashir being the candidate. So if Democrats want the best chance at winning, I personally would have to say that Andy Bashir is probably the best candidate for the Democrats to win the 2028 election, and by possibly a blowout too. And for Republicans, I mean, even we look down here. Let me see. Let's see. And for Republicans, best candidate is probably gonna be not Ron DeSantis. Probably Glenn Youngkin or Nikki Haley. To be honest. But yeah, let's go ahead and fill in what this map is looking like. And here we can go here to the by state. We can see Trump doesn't have a good approval rating in most states. So let's go ahead and get started with all of our safe states. For Democrats, that's going to be Oregon, Washington, California, Colorado, New Mexico, Hawaii, Minnesota with recent events. I do think the ICE shootings, the ICE killings have been a major issue in America, and I think this will affect us in the 2028 election. And unless if Trump calms down ICE will still be a major issue by the 2028 election. Illinois I have going safe. Virginia I have going safe after the 2025 Virginia governor's elections. And that's for, oh, of course, New York. I don't know. New York would be safe. And now we'll move over to the Republicans. We have Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Colorado, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas. I could possibly see Nebraska not supporting Trump. Nebraska has them at negative 1.2% approval. Missouri negative. Now, this isn't so bad, but I really think his disapproval rating would be higher if there were bigger anti Trump, um, or I guess better organized Democratic parties in these states. So I think Republicans are doing good by not having super big, by limiting the amount of, I don't know, organized Democrats are in these states. I don't know if Indiana is safe in this scenario. It's got Trump at negative 5.2%. And we look at the 2020 election, we do have to remember Mike Pence, former governor of Indiana, was Trump's running mate in 2020, and he won Indiana by 16 points. 2016, he won it by 19 points. 2024, he won it by 19 points. And Indiana's still going to be safe, but Trump have been having issues with the Republican Party of Indiana. Alaska, I still think is safe. It's got a negative 7% approval rating. And we have seen that Democrats can win Alaska, as we saw in the 2020 House race. So it's not like Democrats, I do expect Democrats to do better in Alaska than we think. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Alaska flips below. I'm not going to have Alaska safe, honestly. And now we'll move over to our likely states, which I do think will be Alaska. Florida, if Marco Rubio's on the ticket, is definitely likely for the Republicans in Florida. Trump won it by 13 points in 2024. I expect it to go down to like, he won it by 3.4 in 2020. Maybe, and Ron DeSantis will no longer be governor of Florida in 2028. So I honestly think Alaska could possibly fall down to that 6% margin, but more likely around a 8% margin. In Florida, he has a negative 7.5% approval rating. So we just assume, like, I mean, I don't know. Florida's too Republican now. It's really just another Texas for Republicans. I think Florida's still sticking with Republicans, especially if Marco Rubio's on the ticket. If if I think I will go to 2020 numbers to a JD Vance ticket, but if we have someone like Andy Beshear on the ticket, I think Iowa would be closer than most people expect within that 5% margin. I also could see Texas falling in that 5% margin if Andy Beshear's on the ticket, but Gavin Newsom simply has too much baggage to try to do anything in some of these redder states. James Tallarico could definitely help Texas move to uh, more Democrat in the 2026 midterm, so we'll see how that race ends up with James Tallarico. Ohio, with JD Vance being a former senator from there, I do expect Ohio to still go red, but probably by around a 7 to 8% margin. We have to remember in JD Vance's Senate race, he only won Ohio by 6 points in 2022 after Trump won it by 8 points in 2020, which was 2020 was a worse polling year for Republicans than 2022. So I honestly think Ohio will be an underperformer. I think JD Vance will only win Ohio by maybe 5 points. We'll now move over to, oh, also this district of New Hampshire, New Hampshire's probably around 7 points, and same with this district from Nebraska, and then this district from Maine. We'll now move on to the swing states. If someone like Mark Kelly's on the ticket for Arizona, we even saw in 2024 Ruben Galleria win the Senate race in Arizona by 2.4 points. In 2020, we had a Senator, Mark Kelly, win his race in 2020 by 2.3 points. Was there a race in 2020? Yeah. And Kelly still won it by 5 points in 2022. And we even go to a governor's election. When was the last governor's election? 22? Yes. Democrats still took the governor's mansion in Arizona. Um, and we saw Biden was able to win it in 2020. It was really his 2024 with how bad of a candidate Kamala Harris was, or not how bad of a candidate Kamala Harris was. She was really just put in a terrible scenario for the Democrats, being vice president of Joe Biden. I'm gonna have to say, and Arizona continues to lean more left as time moves on, and shoot, what was I gonna say? I mean, on a state level, they're Democrat, not on a state level, but both of their senators are Dems and their governors Dems. And if Democrats can get Mark Kelly on the ticket, I do expect Arizona to go blue. And we're seeing the Hispanic population in America turn on Trump. Trump in 2024 got a record number of um, Hispanic men to vote for him, comparatively to other presidents. Republicans don't do too good with minorities, so that was pretty good for Trump. But we're seeing Trump's disapproval rating with um, the Hispanic population continue to crumble as his ICE operations continue. So I do expect a place like Arizona to be going blue in 2028. And if Arizona goes blue, there's no reason for Nevada not to go blue. Um, in 2020, it went to Biden by 2.4 points. In 2016, it went to Clinton by 2.4 points. In 2012, it went to Obama by 7 points. I think 2024 was more of an off year. If we go to the governors, though, Nevada does have a Republican governor in 22 that won by 1.5 points. And if we go to a Senate level, though, we saw Democrats take the Senate by 1.6 points in 24. And then in 22, a Republican year, Democrats still took the Senate. I mean, it's been a minute. I really think 2024 was just an off year for Democrats in Nevada. I'm gonna go ahead and have to say that Nevada does go blue to Gavin Newsom and Mark Kelly in this scenario. We then go to Wisconsin, which was the closest state to voting for Harris in 24, although it was also one of the closer states to voting Trump in 2020. And then 2016 also won the. But if we go to Senate elections, in 24 they still elected a Democratic senator. So I think it's really more of a Trump thing. And in 2018 they elected, although in 22 they do have one Republican senator that won by a very thin margin. We go even in 22, they have elected a Democratic governor recently. So honestly, I could see Wisconsin going either way, but if we go to the approval rating map, we see Wisconsin has Trump at negative 17.5 points. I have no reason not to believe that Wisconsin won't go to Gavin Newsom, Mark Kelly. We'll then move over to Michigan, which has very popular Democrat governor Gretchen Whitmer. They also elected a Democratic senator in 2024. And with tariffs, manufacturing hasn't been the best in Michigan. I'm going to have to say Michigan does go to Gavin Newsom and Mark Kelly. We then have Pennsylvania, which has popular governor Josh Shapiro. Josh Shapiro is on the ticket. Pennsylvania is a slam dunk for Pennsylvania. Democrats winning Pennsylvania is a slam dunk if Josh Shapiro is on the ticket, but he's not in the scenario I have made. On the approval rating, Trump is negative 16 points. In 24, Trump won it by 1.7 points. Biden won it by 1.2 points. And then he won it by the slimmest margins in 2016. Pennsylvania, it definitely will be closer as Republicans are doing better with registration in Pennsylvania. And I think that's very important. Democrats have to do their best to get higher voter turnout. Because Republicans probably will turn out for the 2028 election and the 2026 midterms. I think Republicans are better at getting their voters to turn out to elections. And if Democrats can't get their voters to turn out in Pennsylvania, I do think Pennsylvania could go red. But it's been since 1988, I believe, that these states haven't all was Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania haven't all voted for the same party. I think 1988 was the last time these three states didn't all vote for the same party, and since then they've all voted for the same party. So I think Pennsylvania will be a close one, but with Trump having only 41% approval, negative 15% approval within the state, according to tracking the presidency, and if Democrats get someone like Andy Beshear, I do think they do take Pennsylvania, although Gavin Newsom does have a lot of baggage. Who really knows? We'll move down to North Carolina, which is a state where Republicans have the majority of registered voters. But Republicans, even though they do good on a general election level, even in 2020, Trump still took it. On a general election level, on a presidential election level, Republicans do pretty good with it. But on a Senate level, too, Democrats don't do good in North Carolina. And we go to a governor's level. In 24, we did have a Democrat governor, but that was win North Carolina. But that was really just because of how bad the Republican candidate was. But before that, we did have Roy Cooper take the seat multiple times, and he also won it in 2016. Yeah, so, and he is projected to win his Senate seat in North Carolina these midterms in 2026. But Roy Cooper, he won't be on the ticket. He's simply too old. Maybe Roy Cooper could campaign real hard for them, but I still expect Republicans to take it by the slimmest margins. Although you could argue J.D. Vance probably wouldn't do too good on a campaign trail. I really think J.D. Vance sort of hurt the Trump the Trump campaign in 24, but he may be good in 28 whenever he's a little bit more experienced. Who really knows? But in Georgia, we see here where, if I can find it, there's a negative 19% approval rating for Donald Trump's administration. John Ossoff is polling very good in Georgia. He's projected to take back his seat in 26. Ralph Warnock, also a popular senator in Georgia. Both of them are Dems. Georgia hasn't been the most friendly to the Trump administration. On a state level, they're pretty Democratic. Although they did have Brian Kemp win election in 22. So I'm not too sure what's really going on. I could see Georgia going either way, but with just how unpopular Trump is, it's going to be hard for Republicans to win a state like Georgia. I do expect Georgia to go to the Dems by around 1 to 2 points. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and peace out.